So the New York Knicks and the Pacers. All right, so we got game 6 at 8 o'clock. Tip off should be like around 8:10. And I've talked to a lot of people, uh, group chats, friends, and I just want to give my take on what I'm expecting from both sides, and really what each team needs to do so that they can win. Okay, so let's start with the Pacers. All right, so the Pacers had in Game 5 what I believe was one of the worst games from their starting five that I had seen in recent memory. Okay. I don't see a lot of Pacer games, but I do track almost, all games. And the Pacers starting five only gave 37 points. 37. 37. I mean, to put that into perspective, the New York Knicks duo of Brunson and Towns scored, I believe it was like 56 points. So both of them outscored the Indiana Pacers starting five by like 20 points. Okay. So I don't really think that the Indiana Pacers starting five are going to have such a horrible game again. I really doubt it. They got 57 points from their bench, and it's been pretty evident, that the Pacers have a deeper bench than the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks, we've known Thibs is like a slave worker. He doesn't go deep into his bench. His starters play a lot of minutes, so the most that you're getting from the New York Knicks bench is like 25 points. That's it. You're getting 25. I don't think you're getting more than that. Okay, because they're top five. Their top five is it's minutes heavy. So if the Indiana Pacers come back and their starting five plays like they normally play, and they get their normal output from their bench, which is like between 30 to 40 points. If everything is the norm of how this series has gone, Indiana should definitely see themselves walking away with this game. They need a run. Okay, they need a run. They need to create turnovers. Most of the games that they've won, the turnover battle, they've seen themselves get a lot of points off of turnovers. I believe Game 4, the New York Knicks, it's either Game 3, Game 4, they forced 20 turnovers. They had 20 points off of turnovers. So the Indiana Pacers thrive when they're running the ball, when they're shooting threes, when Halliburton is getting into the paint and dishing the ball, but they can't have such a horrible game from their starting five so that they can win. Okay. So that, what it looks like is Turner, sifting in between the paint and getting some open threes, Halliburton moving the ball. They can't have Neesmith, go 1 for 8. They can't. I mean, you can't have such a valuable player like him go 1 for 8. So I believe Aaron Neesmith, um, Neesmith is the X factor for the Pacers. He has to have a good game. His ability to knock down threes, which is what brought them, back from that insane game 1, is what is going to push the Pacers to victory. Okay. So now, on the other hand, the Knicks. What do the Knicks need to do to win this game? They need to do a lot. All right. They need to do a lot. But the first thing the Knicks need to do so that they can walk out of game 6 with a win is Jalen Brunson's defense. They have to figure out a way to replicate what he did on defense, and find also better ways to mask him and hide him when he has mismatches against the Indiana Pacers. So they got to find a way, to either fight through screens, avoid having Brunson, get murdered. He was getting murdered the first 4 games. Okay, he's not good defensively. He showed a lot of effort and heart, in Game 5, which is what they need from him. But if the New York Knicks are going to have any chance, he needs to replicate and give more of the defensive fight, so that the Knicks don't get killed when he's on the court. Because obviously, offensively, Brunson will always give you a chance to win. But what he's doing on the offensive end, he had been messing it up on the defensive end. Okay, so that's my X factor for the Knicks to win. But there's a lot of other things that they need to do so that they can walk away from this game. Something that I noticed in game five that really worked for them was a lot of the off ball screen action with Mitchell. Okay. This is great. Why? Because when they play Mitchell and they play Carl Anthony Towns, okay, when that's their starting, right? That's their starting five. They got Cat and they got Mitchell on the court. So Turner will be on Mitchell. So a lot of the times, what that'll do is if Mitchell is running screens and helping get like a Brunson or a Bridges open, then that will leave either Carl Anthony Towns either open for three or with a mismatch on the post where he can exploit it, or with people cutting to the lane, and now your shot blocker, Miles Turner, is out of the painted area. And then a lot of also like like off screen action where Mitchell could just drive to the paint and score on dunks. Right? He's not going to give you a lot of output on it. At least plays through him. But if he can cut to the hoop, get some alley oops, which he did. He had a couple in game five. That'll really help them. And then obviously, he's going to get his offensive rebounds and he's going to be a monster on the glass. Another key for New York, Carl Anthony Towns. Okay. So I have a lot of issues with Cat, and anybody that knows me knows that he upsets me because when Carl Anthony Towns wants to play like a big, for me, he could be one of the most dominant bigs in the NBA when he wants. When he wants, okay? But when he wants to live by his moniker of being the best three-point shooting big in the NBA. And last time I checked, he doesn't shoot 60% from three. So obviously his game in the paint helps New York a whole lot more than him just chucking up three-pointers. When he drives, he is a problem. He will most of the times get fouled when he drives. And in these NBAs, it's been obvious that the more a team plays aggressively, the more the referees they'll just help them. The referees will be there to help you out. The referees will be there to referee the game a little bit more, a lot more differently if you're playing aggressively, if you're driving versus just chucking up shots. Staying with Towns, this guy, man, he needs to stop with the fouling. I feel like he got lucky in game five. He ended up the game with 5 fouls. The best ability is availability. And if you're not available to play, if you're in foul trouble, then that will hamper your ability, sorry to say it again, to be on the court. All right. So if he can't be out there, what good does he do New York if he's getting into foul trouble? So Karl Anthony Towns, he's a big, big part of what the New York Knicks, need so that they can win. So he needs to stay out foul trouble. He needs to, you know, avoid some of these stupid fouls that he does where he's just, lazily swatting at balls or, bumping defenders on, on the, out of bounds almost. So if Karl Anthony Towns can clean up a little bit of his fouls, if he can, drive more to the basket and just give the Knicks that energy that he's given them in the previous games, together with some of the things that I've already said, this will go a long way into helping the Knicks winning today and possibly taking this game to a game seven where at that point anything goes. And then if they can win today, now the pressure is on Indiana because if they would have lost two straight, and now the Knicks could get a sense that okay, we could take this series. All right. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Because are the Knicks better than the Indiana Pacers? No. The Indiana Pacers just have too much weapons. They use their bench heavily. 57 points. Fuck, 57 points. Think about that. Like what teams do you normally see, where their bench is scoring 57 points? So think about it. In a game, if the Pacers, starting five, gives them 50, 60 points, and they're getting great output from their bench, it's hard to beat that team. And they have guys that they can rely on from their bench, which the Knicks can't say. You know, the Knicks can't really say that. So the Knicks have to slow down the pace. They can't rely on going up and down the court to try to beat the Pacers, because if they do, then what's going to happen is that, unfortunately, they're not going to walk away with a victory against the Pacers. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not, because they don't have the firepower, nor do they have the ability outside of Brunson and Bridges when he's on, to score from 3 point land, the way that the Pacers can. You know, everybody on the Indiana Pacers starting five can hit threes. Everybody, 1 through 5, when Turner's out there. On their bench, they have guys, TJ McConnell, that can come out. He can hit his threes. He could drive. He's a spark off the bench. So, there's just, the Knicks are undermanned, but they have a style of play that they could use so that they can potentially beat. They can potentially beat the Pacers. Okay, but they have to be true to that style of play. If Anthony, if Cat comes out, just chucking up threes, not trying to post, not trying to be aggressive, not drive. If they don't slow down the pace of the game, if Mitchell can't hit free throws and not become a liability, then now that gap in ability is even bigger, and then they're just not going to have a way to be able to beat the Pacers. So really, really, what I see happening, all right, it's all good. The key to this game, I think, is going to be the first quarter. If Indiana comes out, I saw a crazy stat. I think it was like Nick Wright. He was saying that there's if when Halliburton makes his first shot versus when he doesn't make his first shot, his points per game, there's like a 6 point differential. So like if he hits his first shot, he's averaging like 24 points per game, versus if he misses it, 18 points per game. And there's like a big disparity between Indiana losing and winning. So I think the first quarter is going to be indicative of if the Indiana Pacers are going to win. What Halliburton does, I feel like he played so bad that we might get a really big first quarter in points and assists from Halliburton. They're going to come out running. They're going to come out shooting. They're going to come out shooting a lot of threes, and it's going to be a matter of whether the Knicks can respond. All right. I love how Brunson came out in Game 5. I think he made like the first 6 points. He was aggressive. He looked like he was playing with a purpose. Anytime he had Halliburton, that is a mismatch for him. Okay, Halliburton, he can't do much against Brunson. All right, the Pacers are better off when Neesmith is guarding Brunson. But whenever Brunson can get Halliburton off of a switch, he goes to work, and that's exactly what he did in the previous game. So the Knicks, they have to be forceful and intentional with their offense, so that they can try to get Brunson with matchups like Halliburton. Slow down the pace, grind, play hard. Play that Josh Hart type of basketball, so that they can try to win this game. Because if they don't do that, look, I can guarantee you there's not much that the Knicks can do if they don't come out with that mentality. So the game's in 30 minutes. I really believe the Pacers, they're probably going to come out, and they're gonna probably beat the Knicks like by 15 points. If I had to put any money on this, I'd say the Knicks are coming out and beating the Pacers are coming out and beating the Knicks by at least 15 points today. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm about to get ready to watch the game. If you're going to watch the game, enjoy it. We'll drop a follow-up video for whatever happens today. And then most likely I'm going to be doing a follow-up video then if the Pacers win, with a preview of the NBA Finals. I'm gonna do a whole, gonna probably do a long form video previewing the finals, matchups, things to look for, and if the Pacers win, this will be an NBA Finals that maybe outside of OKC that nobody would have imagined. The Pacers out of all teams, in the finals, nor the Knicks if something were to magically happen. So. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. In about 30 minutes, enjoy the game. And next time you guys are on, don't doubt to drop a comment. All right, enjoy the game, guys.